Alright, today I'm going to talk about the WWE, then probably called WWF Attitude Era, now versus the current WWE PG era. Who was the biggest stars in both the eras, the highs and the lows of both areas, or eras, so let's get started. First, obviously, we know that the Attitude Era started when Stone Cold Steve Austin beat Shawn Michaels back at WrestleMania 14 for the WWE Championship. That was the birth of it. And then obviously we know that the PG era started sometimes in 2008. So there was 10 years there that WWE was TV-14. See, but the thing that most people gets confused between the Attitude Era and TV-14 is the storylines that the Attitude Era had. The Attitude Era really ended about 01, 02. WWE stayed TV-14 7 years after that. 6-7 years after the Attitude Era ended, but it ended about 01, 02. Now, the highs and the lows of the Attitude Era. It seemed like the Attitude Era that you could see almost anybody winning the WWE Championship. They hardly ever did. It was ruled by Austin and The Rock and Triple H and so forth and so on and stuff. But you could see just about any one of the main eventers actually winning. They usually always put on great matches. They had the hardcore title, which drawed a lot of crowds, and ultimately probably is what put ECW out of business and stuff. And then they had good mid-carders, they had good championships, they had a good tag team division. It's really when WWE took over. Now, one leaves to ask themselves though, would they even have been an Attitude Era, and how big would Stone Cold Steve Austin would have even been if Bret Hart hadn't went to WCW in the infamous Montreal screw job? Wouldn't have happened. Another big question that comes out of that era and that time of wrestling was when WWE purchased and bought WCW, and then the invasion storyline that soon followed. My biggest question is that obviously there's some injuries. Eddie was injured, Benoit was injured, Triple H was injured. I would love to saw how those three would have played into a part of the invasion storyline back at that time. What would Benoit's role been? Would he stay with WWE, or would he would have went with WCW? Obviously we all know that Benoit left WCW for WWE. He won their championship and then ended up actually throwing it into a trash can and ended up going to WWE. Benoit obviously left, Guerrero obviously left with Benoit. And then, you had Triple H, and then he was under WWE contract, and then in the storyline, Stephanie on ECW. So it would have been interesting to see play that out. So I think that was a big miss for for WWE there, not to be able to use those three in that storyline. I think all three of them would have played a very big and important role. So we got Kurt Angle, we got Steve Austin, we have The Rock, we had Jericho in it, Undertaker, Kane, and then, the WCW stars, which really just consisted of them, people jumping from WWE to kind of beef it up. So I think that's what kind of killed that era. Anyway, the biggest star of the Attitude Era probably would have been either Rock or Steve Austin. That's kind of hard because they both was really, really popular. But I'm going to say more than likely probably The Rock. It seemed like The Rock had more hype. The Rock's the one that got the match with Hogan, not Austin. I think they definitely should have went Austin there instead of having him face a washed up Scott Hall at WrestleMania. But anyway, now, and then obviously you got the three great Rock and Austin matches, which presumed in what was probably the real death of the Attitude Era in 2003 when they had their final WrestleMania match, and soon after Steve Austin retired from the ring, or retired from in-ring action once The Rock finally beat him. Also, some other things that went on there was 2002, where Austin asked for his release and got released from WWE. He was gone for almost a year. So that era could have went on for a little bit more. You know, Rock went off to movies and stuff. So now, moving on to the PG era. What's the highlights of the PG era? You know, the sad thing is about the PG era is that probably one of the greatest superstars that was left and came along with the Attitude Era was Chris Jericho, and he got most of his recognition in this recent era with 4 world championship reigns, either 4 or 5 world championship reigns. Obviously, it spun off Batista. You know, all these kind of started when it was still TV-14. These kind of worked their way up to the big stars of the PG era. The PG era, it ain't so bad that it's PG, because, I mean, WWE was PG leading into the Attitude Era anyway, to their TV-14 ratings, and it was always seemed to be kind of good. You had the blood, you know, you had a little bit of violence, a little bit of swearing and stuff. I think what makes the Attitude Era so much better than the PG era, and it's not so much the PG rating, as in, one, they had better stars, they had better storylines and more build-up and stuff. They had better main event pictures, they had better mid-carders, but more important than all of that is that they didn't pander to the kids as much. That's what's wrong with this PG era, is that this PG era really panders to the kids a lot. If you look back, the beginning of this recent PG era, 2008, had some pretty good matches. You had Edge versus Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell, which was a pretty good match. So Undertaker chokeslammed him through the ring. You had Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho in a strap match. You had Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho in one hell of a ladder match. You had the emergence of CM Punk. But CM Punk, at the beginning of this era, when he first won his World Heavyweight Championship, WWE booked him real lightly. They had a lot of real weird endings to his matches. It'd be disqualifications, countouts, something like that. They didn't really book him against big stars. Let's see. Also, some stuff that came from the PG era. You saw Jeff Hardy win 3 WWE championships, even though the reigns was really, very, very short and dumb. And that's really all I can think of. I mean, yeah, you got John Cena being Superman now, and he's probably obviously the biggest star of this PG era and stuff. His 4 kids, they pandered to the crowd with 2 kids, and then obviously Cena's how they do that. You have Randy Orton. The only thing I don't like about Randy Orton is that in the PG era, he was still a great heel. Orton's a great heel. Now they have him being face. I think that's kind of dumb. And Orton's not a face. You don't make a good face. I didn't like him after his little face turn after he split up with Evolution. He beat Chris Benoit for his first world championship. I didn't really like the face Orton then. I don't like the face Orton now. I think they try to make him out too much like Stone Cold, and Randy Orton's not Stone Cold. I'm not dissing Orton by any means at all. He's a great wrestler, but they should have left him heel. That was their top heel. You don't make a good face. I don't think he can be a top face of a company like John Cena can. Orton just, he don't have it. And I think the reason why that they make him the top face for the time being and right now is for just the simple fact that he was so popular as a heel and everybody accepted him. Really, there's no one to compete with Orton on any level as a heel or a face until Cena returns. So overall, I'm going to give it to the Attitude Era as being the best out of these two. And, you know, something interesting, though, has caught my mind after watching Raw and SmackDown this past couple weeks. You know, 2 weeks ago on Old School Raw, they had Mae Young calling Lay Cool bitches and sluts. This week, they had Cena saying Karma's a bitch. They had Paul Bearer running around calling the crowd bastards. And, you know, that's kind of like how the previous TV-14 era started. I'm thinking that, you know, they say WWE January 2011. Open for big changes. I'm really hoping that the ratings go back to TV-14 just to make the storylines better, if nothing else. I don't think they really have that good a talent to, you know, put on great matches and stuff, but if they had better storylines, probably less restrictions and stuff on the language, how far they can go, bring back some chair shots and stuff, a little bit of blood, this PG era wouldn't be that bad. So there you have my thoughts on the Attitude Era and the current PG era in World Wrestling Entertainment. Chris, this video's for you, so now you know. So I hope you enjoy it. Holla.